Hey everybody, welcome back to Horror Trans. So my name is Stephanie Bree. I'm a transgender woman. I talk about all things horror. I'm still taking a break from horror reviews so I can get caught up on watching films, which I've been trying to do. And so this week I'm doing a horror icons Mogwai slash Gremlins. So I have not seen the Peacock animated Mogwai, whatever the fuck it's called, show. I don't watch cartoons, so I will likely never watch it. So what I have to go by, obviously, is what we know from the two movies that we got in the 80s, and some side information I got from reading the novelization of those two movies, which was so long ago. Don't quote me on any of this. It's not going to be, like, accurate 100%. So, the Gremlins were introduced in 1984 in a movie called Gremlins. And we were introduced in their, I guess you would say their toddler stage. I don't know what the correct terminology is. Their pre-metamorphosis stage where they are furry little rats, basically, with big ears. And the Mogwai have unique personalities. From the book, we know that they are aliens. From the movie, we don't really know that. So what we know from the movie is they're cute and cuddly, but they also have temperaments, and they have individual personalities, and they have an affinity for mischief. And from what we've seen in the movies, they're quite intelligent despite their appearance. Now, the Mogwai have a unique reproduction system where if you get them wet with water, uh, every drop of water that touches their skin produces a new Mogwai. And it only takes them like a minute or less to fully form and do, complete whole Mogwai with, intelligence and personalities and language and everything. So they're fascinating creatures as far as horror icons go. Now, the Gremlins are absolutely mischievous, but I don't believe they're malevolent. I don't think they have evil intentions. I think they just like to have fun. And fun for them is fucking with other species, especially humans, apparently, and dogs, from what we see in Gremlins 1. Sidebar, it's kind of weird that Billy doesn't even mention Barney in Gremlins 2 at all. But whatever. It is what it is. Now, the other thing about gremlins is they're allergic to sunlight. Deathly allergic to sunlight. It'll kill them. They literally melt in the sunlight. And bright light hurts them just as well, just as much. Um, and I'm not quite sure why that is. But I don't know if that was explained in the book or not because I don't remember it. I haven't read the book since I was a teenager. But what I do know is the third thing is, which makes less sense than the other two, but it is what it is. It's probably magic or something. I don't know. If you feed them after midnight, and I'm going to stipulate midnight in the current time zone where they're present, to make it simple, so we don't have to have any of those silly, schoolyard debates in the comments, please. They go into a cocoon, and when they hatch from their cocoon, they're no longer an mammalian creature. They're now reptilian, which is also unique because I don't know of any other species in any other sci-fi or horror franchise that changes from mammal to reptile. So if there are other examples of that, I'd like to know because I'd love to see those movies. Because I think that would be pretty fucking cool. Once they become gremlins, once they're in their reptilian phase, they get stronger. They get a little bit bigger. It's hinted that they become more intelligent, and I think it's this. I think in the book they also say that they do become more intelligent, and they also become more aggressive. Now, in the book, which is a novelization of the film, so it's up to you if you consider it canon or not. But in the book, it's revealed that the Gremlins come in not two species, but their species comes in two, I guess I'll say classes. You have the mature gremlin who lives a long life, the Mogwai, and wants peace and harmony with other civilizations. This is Gizmo. And then the children of the Mogwai or gremlin tend to be the animalistic versions, less mature, less evolved, pure instinct, and not necessarily evil intent, but mischievous intent and far more aggressive. Now, when they're in the book, it's revealed when they're in their Mogwai form, when they're the mammal, the little cuddly furball, they can't kill. Stripe is depicted in the movie beating up Gizmo because he wants Gizmo to tell him the secret to get the power. Because he knows they have another form that gives them more power as well as the ability to kill. Because he literally, there's a block in their brain that prevents them from even picturing killing someone. So they can't even daydream about it. And this is pissing Stripe off, which is why he's such an asshole to Gizmo. Because Gizmo won't tell him the secret. Now, once they become gremlins in the book, Stripe becomes power hungry and just wants to take over the earth, basically. He wants to wipe out humanity and all other non-gremlin creatures and rule the world and just have a gremlin society. And very mischievous gremlin society. Now we see from the bar scene of the first Gremlins and the movie theater scene from the first Gremlins, they do have not only intelligence, but some form of civilization and appreciation for art. They're able to mimic human behaviors, most likely in a mocking fashion, from what we've seen, but they're able to be aware of what humans are like, and copycat them, mimic them. Now, in Gremlins 2, they get access to a science lab, which goes full sci-fi and mutates multiple gremlins into different types of gremlins. So you get a girl gremlin, you get a spider gremlin, a sunproof bat gremlin, you get a talking gremlin, and so on and so forth. You get a bunch of others. I don't remember all of them, but those are the big ones. The other thing that's notable about the gremlins in their personality is they're gluttonous. They just want to eat until they can't eat no more. Pretty much until they die. They have their gluttony for pleasure, which includes eating, entertainment, mischief. They just want to be entertained literally every second of the day. And I would say they're probably ADHD and maybe even bipolar, because they have no attention span and their moods fluctuate on a dime. I mean, you snap of the finger and they go from happy to pissed off and whatnot. So, I said bipolar, but maybe it would be borderline. I don't know. Anyways, they're not healthy mentally. They're not. But that's due to their nature. So it might not be a mental health disorder for them. It might just be what's natural for them. We do see the gremlins kill people, but it's usually mostly depicted as incidental. It's not like they actually out and out murder somebody. they usually pull a prank on this somebody that happens to be deadly. Not to say they don't kill people, because they do, but it appears as though they usually do so either in self-defense, or they're just trying to clear the room and the people are in their way. So they're just killing things that are in their way of their good time. And so I wouldn't say that they're necessarily vicious. They are violent, but I don't think they can control that. I think they're just a violent creature because the nature of the fact that they're pleasure seekers. They're excessive pleasure seekers, to the point where if anything disrupts their pleasure, they get violent because they need their pleasure to a fault. And they are relatively easy to defeat. Sunlight will kill them, but they also die to normal methods, gunshots, stabbing, blowing up in a microwave, fire, etc. Obviously, I don't think you can drown a gremlin. You probably could, because we see Stripe plug his nose before he jumps into the swimming pool. But we see like 1,000 or more gremlins just pop out of his back. So I don't know if they can drown, or if drowning is a wise method of attempting to kill a gremlin, because you might have one dead gremlin and 700 of his offspring to deal with. So there is that. Now, like I said, I have not read any comic books that feature gremlins, so I don't know if there are Gremlins comic books. That would be cool if there are, because I'd probably like to get my hands on some. There's talk of a Gremlins 3 and possibly a remake / reboot or whatever of Gremlins buzzing around the internet. I'd like to see either or. I'd be good either way. I will not watch the cartoon because, like I've said a bajillion times on this channel and others, I do not watch cartoons. And I have no fucking interest in it. And I don't care if it expands the mythology or not. I'll just read about it on Wikipedia and get it that way. I don't need to fucking watch the goddamn cartoon. So, I feel like Gremlins as a horror icon, as a horror monster, are one of the more iconic horror monsters, even though they're somewhat unique in a lot of ways, but also kind of, there's not a lot out there. There's only 2 movies and now a animated TV show. So the Gremlins didn't really get, I mean, they had their 15 minutes of fame, but they didn't get their time in the sun, in the spotlight. They had their 15 minutes, they burned out white hot, and then they were forgotten, more or less. 80s kids remember the Gremlins, but I don't know how popular they are with the younger generations, because, those are old movies at this point. 30, 40-year-old movies at this point. So, it's hard to say. But I love the Gremlins. The original Gremlins movie, the first one from 1984, which is almost 40 years old, by the way, is one of my favorite movies of all time. I watch it a lot, every year, multiple times a year. I love Gremlins. In fact, I'm going to watch it again. Maybe not today, but soon. Pretty soon. It's on my, list of movies that I watch regularly. And I'm about due for another rewatch. So that's all really I can say about the Gremlins. I mean, there's not a lot of mythology out there that's canon. I'm not counting the cartoon as canon, obviously. And if you're separating the books from the movies, there's even less canon mythology for the Gremlins, because very little of it is actually told in the movies. We get most of it from the books, which, again, is unfortunate because not everybody reads. Stay cool.